And because I know because you guys are both doing the business, right? You're not just farting around and want to be designers. You want to do the business. So let's get
Yeah.
serious here. Okay,
All right.
this is the this is the I'm going right to the absolute most important part of the whole deal right here. Okay. So it's slide number 4. Okay. You need a footwear business plan, right? And you say, Wade,
Yeah.
you're a rocket scientist, right? You need a business plan. No shit, right? Okay. Now, this is where it gets different though, because we're talking footwear, right? So this is the plan of plans, right? So
Mm-hmm.
brand identity, right? Who's it for? How are you going to communicate it, right? Right?
Right.
If you're making
Uh-huh.
if you're making shoes for kids, who's the gatekeeper on kids shoes? Mom.
Right.
Moms,
Mom
mom
is.
and dad.
Right. So, as much as the kid would love to wear a shoe that said F off on it, mom ain't never going to buy that for him, right? So,
No.
you got to think about your brand identity and how you're going to communicate to your end user and how that affects your product, right? Um, and where it's going to be sold is critical to that. Okay, that's your brand identity plan, right? Because this is the secret sauce. Because hey, listen, the shoe is a shoe is a shoe, man. There's not Nike's made a million different types of shoes. It's going to be really hard to out Nike. But if you have a different identity and a twist on your brand, that's what makes it impactful. But also gets to a segment that they're not getting to, right? Or has some
Uh-huh.
different meaning to it, right? Um, I'm working with a gentleman. His brand is called Urban Weather, and it's about making your own success, right? And making your own mental positive mental attitude. And Urban Weather also is UW, you win, right? So it's that kind of twist on it, right? Okay, so that's your brand identity plan. Then your product plan, right? One product is not a company, right?
Right.
If you go to the store with one shoe and the customer and the buyer don't like one shoe, they're going to tell you that you're done. If you have two, then at least they could say no half the time when you're still there, right? Okay, product plan, right? And also the product plan lets you, if you make a couple of different products, it lets you find out what's going to work. What I mean, like high or low or different prices, or just mix it up a little bit. Because like, unless you're Crocs, right? One shoe is the whole business, right? But we don't have that. If we're starting a business, you want to come up with a couple of ideas. Hey, maybe you just do it in the development phase to show them to people. But if you just go out there with your what you think is the perfect shoe, you want to have more than one chance to be right, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have your financial plan. What I was that chart I showed you, where it's the landing, the product landing, right? That's the financial plan, right? What are you going to buy it for? What are you going to sell it for? How much is it going to cost to ship it and import it? All that stuff. That's the financial plan, right? Am I going to make money if I buy it at this price and sell it at this price? Or more importantly, where do I want to be with this, right? I was on the phone with a guy. He's a he did some collaboration with Prada before, and now he wants to make his own shoe. And he's telling me that the retail price of that shoe is going to be $1,200. I'm like, then it doesn't matter how much it costs, right? It doesn't matter, right? Because that's what you're gonna, it could cost
Wow.
$200 to make it, and you still be fine, right? Now we'll see what happens.
Hmm.
I don't believe that for a second. For the rest of us, we have to count our pennies, right? So that's the
Right.
financial plan. Okay. Next part is the capital plan, right? Which is how much money, right?
Mm-hmm.
When are you going to need it? How much are you going to need, right? Right? And what are you going to spend it on, right? So the capital plan is kind of like, because you don't need it all on the front, right? You're going to need some along the way, right? And
Right.
then also, what decisions do you make on your product line as you go, right? So if we sit down to make the shoe for you, my friend Dave and I, that first milestone is basically $2,500 for one shoe to get you a shoe that you could walk around in. It looks like a real shoe, and then you can take that shoe and show it around. make a video, look for investor, right? And the next milestone after that is to make the production tooling of that one shoe. Now that could be, if it's a simple shoe like an Air Jordan, that could be another $2,500. If it's a fancy thing like this, it could be $5,000, right? Depending on how the molds and injection and all that, right? And then you take that shoe, and that's the real shoe. You could wear test it, and you could make, once you have the tooling, you can make 50 samples of that one size, right? And then you could go show that around, right? So that's your sort of capital plan, right? Where's the money going to come from? How much you're going to need? When you're going to need it, right? And that a capital plan is important because if you're going to go try to find an investor, you have to back up, right? How much money you need and why you need it and when you're going to need it. Because if you start saying, okay, I need 10,000 this month, and you go back next month and ask for another 10, they're going to say, why didn't you tell me that last month? What do you think this is going to be, right? So you just say, hey, well, I think this, right? And then, of course, your manufacturing plan, right? Where are you going to get this thing made, right?
Yeah.
Hyper important. Your sales plan. What are you going to do, right? Who are you going to sell it to? Where is it going to sell? Are you going to sell it online, right? And this is, there's a giant slide in here. I'm going to go find it here, and we'll come back to this in a second here. I want it. This is another absolutely most important thing to remember here. Let me see if I can find it here. That's it right there. Building a website is not a sales plan, right? Print that out. Take a screen capture of that one and print it out, because I've so many folks I run into. They say, what's your plan to sell it? We're going to build a website. And that's like building a baseball diamond in the field in Iowa, right? If you don't promote it, no one's coming to it, right? So that's just one piece of a business plan, right? Because even if you build a website, nobody's going to know or care or come to it, right? Unless you have a real plan to market it. So if you guys are on Instagram, right?
I'm not.
You're not.
Can be.
God bless you.
Yeah.
So there's a guy that we've made a sample shoe for. His brand is called Activate. ACTI. Let me see if I can find it here. Well, the point of it is he's got one pair of development shoes, and he's probably made 50 Instagram videos with it already. And we haven't even finished the second prototype yet. He's already building the story. And then in this course we talk about, here's the some of the brands we talk about. This one is called Antibes, and he's got a kind of exotic special shoe that your heel doesn't touch the ground. It's a wild muscle running shoe, right? But he had his website up and was building a community, making videos explaining the whole concept before the shoe was even in production. So basically building people to get interested in this thing, to understand the concept or build a community and get these people hyped for it before the shoe was even on the water, right? I mean, you've seen ads for Nike's new Apple's new headset, right? That thing's not coming out for what, 8 or 10 months, and it's on my feed all over the place, right? So anyways, so that's kind of my website is not a plan. A website's a website, right? Okay. All right. I'm giving it all away. Here you go, guys. Okay. Let's go back to this list here. Plan of plans. Okay, distribution plan, right? You're going to have 2,000 cardboard boxes show up at your house. Now what, right? Are they going to go in your basement or your backyard? Are you going to send them to Amazon? Do you have a warehouse planned? How are you going to get those shoes from the factory to the end user, right? Mm-hmm. Marketing. Okay, back to marketing, right? How are you going to tell people about your brand? How are you going to communicate it to them? How are you going to get it in front of buyers? If you're going to talk to buyers, if you're going direct to the consumer, okay, that's a whole other deal, right? So you got it. What's your marketing plan? And that marketing plan circles right back to your brand identity. How are you going to get to these people, right? This Flip Rocks guy, He's one of my longest customers. He does fishing shows every weekend in the summer, right? He sells them out of the back of a van at fishing shows. That's what he does, right? That's where his customer goes, right? And
Are those shoes for fish?
they're for fishing.
Oh,
They have they're sandals, but they have replaceable pads on the bottom. So one has spikes, one has felt, one has herringbone rubber.
okay.
If you want to stand in the
Huh.
river, then they're pretty cool for that. But it's interesting because it's a totally unique product that Nike or Adidas would never make, right?
Yeah.
It's a sandal for standing in the river, right? But that's where you don't have to have a giant brand to make a business, right? You just
Mm-hmm.
have to have something different, right?
Right.
Um, let's see here. Okay, we're almost done here. Okay, growth plan, right? What's next?
Yeah.
More shoes, more of the same. T-shirts, hats. You know, T-shirts and hats are easy. You could do those day one, right?
Yeah.
If your brand is compelling, and it better be, right? And then your exit plan. Now, I never thought about exit plan until I met with a client who he says, Wade, I'm 62 years old. I have $10 million. And I'm like, okay, sounds good, man. Why are you talking to me more? You should be out, what? But he's like, Wade, I want to make a shoe business. I said, okay, what kind of shoe? I don't know. I just know I want to do it. And I'm like, okay, but I want to grow it in like 5 years to be worth $10 million, and then I want to sell it. So like, okay, you already know you have this whole, I mean, part of me is like, you're crazy. If you don't have a passion for it, then why are you doing this, right? But he just got me thinking about, okay, if your plan is to sell the thing, then it'll be a different, you'll have a different thought process for how you organize the business, right? If you know you're going to sell it, then don't go and make yourself a warehouse, rent a warehouse. Because if you sell a brand, they don't actually want your typewriters and your computers in your warehouse. They just want your brand identity and your customer list. That's what they want. They're going to take the rest of it and they don't care, right? But if you want to build a business and keep it going until the day you die and give it to your son or whatever, I mean, then you build it differently, right? That's it, man. Top to bottom. So I described that. What was that? 20 minutes? 10 minutes? The course is 10 hours. It'll make your ears bleed. But if you start here, start here,
Okay.
and
All right.
and then, but this part of the plan part, we didn't, when we wrote the book, we didn't quite have that mindset about, all the pieces are all there, but
Mm-hmm.
this plan of plans mindset is what you got to come up with. Because here, I mean, the other thing too, about sort of sales and distribution plan is when the shoes are going to arrive, right? These gals here that made these sandals, they were so hot to trot to get into the market that they couldn't wait, and they developed the product and it was ready in March.
Mm.
And it's sitting in China in March for a sandal. That's too late. You know, if you
Wow.
can't, you got to get it into the market. They had to air freight their
February.
first. They had to air freight it. Because you want it in the stores in March, not sitting on the loading dock in China, right? Because if the weather turns in Florida
Yes.
or wherever and you're not there, then. But the other part is like, you got to have your merchandise ready when the buyer. You got to have enough information for the buyer because they have a schedule too.
Right.
If you show up to their doorstep and their buy budget is already spent, they're going to say, "Well, we'll look at you next, basketball season." Right?
Okay.
Now, if you're going direct to consumer, it's different, right? You just have to be ready when the kids go back to school because that's when they're going to buy their shoes, right? But if you're going to do the retail route, then you've got to make sure that you have a sample and a price and you're ready so you can show it to those guys 6 or 8 months ahead of time, because you're going to write the order and then take that order to the factory and then build it and ship it. And that could be 180 days by the time 90 days to or 120 days to build it and
Mm-hmm.
30 or 60 or 45 to ship it. I mean, and actually, in the book, the schedule is there, right? And actually, in the course, there's even more in depth scheduling part, and that's a little bit where when you start to get your manufacturing partner to say, okay, how long is this really going to take, right? So those sandal gals, the first year they didn't make any money because they air freighted, but they got into the market, right? So it looks like I said, they didn't make any money, but they got into stores, and when the next summer came around, when the buying season came around, they were ready and they were able to get actual buy budget right on the front instead of picking up scraps at the end. So, whew. All right. Listen, here's what I want you guys to do though. Nothing. Don't do anything. Enjoy your 4th of July weekend. Enjoy it. We're going to have a July 6th sale. If you're on the email list, you're going to get it. Well, okay. we're testing. One says July 4th sale. The other says July 6th. Because you should be out with your friends and family and not thinking about shoes, right?
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. I'm going to Mexico.
That sounds good.
Yeah. All right, folks. All right. Any questions? I mean, I really love these private sessions. So go ahead, man.
I have one last question, and this might sound stupid. I'm just going to ask it.
Go ahead.
What is the best way to present to you an idea or whatever? I guess earlier today you were like, "Hey, I know you're not ready, but we'll get you ready." Okay, cool. How do I present my unready idea, product, what I have so far to you in the best way possible?
Yeah, I mean, you got drawings, right?
What is that?
Do you have drawings of your shoe?
Sketches.
Yeah.
And I'll have my version of tech flats done.
Yeah. Let's just check it out. Because here's the other thing too. Like, unless you went to school for design work, right? You're it's like, did you study German in school? No. You don't speak German, right? Okay, right. So, or I don't speak Spanish, right? I don't speak the language, right? So if you didn't go to art school and learn how to draw, you just never had a chance to learn the language, right? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. That's actually one of the, I mean, this is where I can help you with that, right? So I can introduce you to a couple of, I mean, I started out as a shoe designer, and I would say, yeah, I'll finish your design for you, but I know guys that are way better than me, right? That could help you. So if you have your mindset, what the thing is supposed to be, if you can close your eyes and see it and describe it, and even if your drawings are not great, it doesn't matter, right? Then that's where we can introduce you to a designer who knows how to make this stuff look awesome, and you'll just work with them. You'll have a Zoom session and you'll kick drawings back and forth, and he'll make you a design that rocks out, right? And that's that's why. And this is a little bit too of where, I'm going to back up a little bit here to expectation setting, right? Use experts, right? You can't do all these things by yourself, right? You're going to be the organizing principal because this is your brand. It's your story that you're going to tell. But if you need someone to help color in the lines to make the drawing look great, and I would say do a little bit more on the front end to make sure that you have a design that you are in love with, because you're about to go on some pretty tough sledding to get it done, right? So if you don't absolutely love it, then just keep that part going until you absolutely do love it, and you're convinced that it's the right way to do it, because at that point you've got to evangelize, right? You've got to tell everybody what's going on, right? I mean, you listen to the way I talk about the course that we made. I know it's fucking awesome because I've sold it to a $10 billion company. I made it for them. They bought it, right? A huge company needed to train their people. So I know that it works. And these books that you guys have in your hands, they're used by universities. The sports marketing program in Oregon, for their master's degree, they use these same books.
Yeah, that's where I went to school.
You did? You were part of that program.
Yeah, I went to the SBD side, so I wasn't in the marketing side. I was in the product design side.
Shit, you're there,
And
right?
that's where I saw your book. Actually, like, yeah, so I'm validating true story.
True story, right? Mike thought I was bullshitting this whole time. It's true. You know, actually, this is I don't know if I told you this story or not, but I get emails from people all over the world, right? And Solomon hiking boots, right? The gal who's in their design department says we use your book for the new hires.
Oh, cool.
Can we buy 20 at a time? And I'm like, well, of course you can, you know? So I was just like, you show up to that company and the first thing they do is they give you a name tag and a stapler and they hand you this book. I'm like, I love that. I mean, that's what we're doing it for. Anyways.
That's awesome.
All right. I'm not blowing smoke. Oh shit, man. Look at that.
Cool.
Gotta represent, man. Gotta represent the O at all times. Yes, sir.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I went to the University of Michigan. I look at my logos; they're all maize and blue. Everything. I bleed it. I bleed it. All right. Hey, yeah, not a stupid question, man. And don't worry. Like this is where, hey, you invest a little bit now, right? I can introduce you to a couple of hot shots that can make this thing really look nice, and then I'll introduce you to another guy and we'll take it to the factory. That's how we do it. So,
right on.
All right. But don't do anything. Enjoy 4th of July. Relax. I guess you got a couple of days and then before you kick off, right? But yeah, enjoy the holiday. All right, guys. And then, hey, we'll talk to you, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Hey, listen, you guys are on the inside, right? Just if you have a question, just give me a buzz. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right, guys. Good night.
All right,
Take care.
Thank you.
Enjoy your weekend.
Good to see you again. Bye-bye.